I think what a lot of people have noticed is that because a blockchain does allow you to track transactions, it's not really a great way to do a lot of things. Like, it's not a great money laundering tool because people are able to track you.
As far as the FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt about criminal and illicit activities, the FBI, the CIA, they've all come out and said they hope that criminals use the blockchain. It's a public distributed ledger. You'd have to be a moron to engage your criminal enterprise on Bitcoin or any of these other cryptos.
Now, how do you lose your anonymity, your privacy, some of the things that crypto was built upon?
It turns out that Bitcoin is not anonymous as had initially been assumed. In fact, this is one good thing because it now turns out that Bitcoin is being used much less for illicit transactions than in its early, somewhat wilder West days. It turns out that if you use Bitcoin extensively or use it to acquire real goods or services, then it is possible, as we've seen from many examples, where the FBI has been able to uncover these transactions to connect digital identities to real identities.
Hey, everybody, it's Eddie from Tokyo. This is your cryptocurrency update from Japan, and that was a mashup clip. First was Hester Peirce. Of course, she's a commissioner with the SEC, followed by attorney John Deaton. That was captured this morning when he was on Fox Business News, and he is, of course, representing 60,000 plus XRP holders. And lastly, a professor at Cornell University. I want to give you the highlights as to what has happened in Washington, D.C. in the last 24 hours, and also a very successful use case using XRP as a bridge currency. And the SEC giving an apology? Yes, they are deeply sorry. And wait till you see the sneak preview of a guest that I'm going to have on the channel later on this month. And we want to take a look at the highlights from Bitcoin Miami. Okay, everybody, let's go.
If I buy Bitcoin, am I buying a share of stock? Or am I buying a pork belly? Or am I buying euros? Or am I
you buying air?
Oh, wow.
Okay, think about this for a moment. How can it be just air? And at the same time, she wants to introduce a bill that would authorize the president to sanction foreign cryptocurrency firms. It just doesn't make any sense. You can't be air and something you have to regulate at the same time. I want to show you what was said in DC in the last 24 hours so that it proves the point that she is just polluting the minds of U.S. Congress. Have a listen.
Secretary Yellen, many of us on this committee are concerned about the potential use of cryptocurrencies and other digital assets to evade international sanctions imposed on Russia for its illegal invasion of Ukraine. The U.S. and other G7 nations recently pledged to work together to ensure the Russian state, its elites, and oligarchs will not be able to utilize digital assets to sidestep these sanctions. How is the Treasury Department working to carry out this pledge?
Well, we are concerned about sanctions avoidance, and we recognize that digital assets present opportunities for doing exactly that. So first, I would say that we're monitoring for any attempts to use cryptocurrency to evade our sanctions, and we have ample enforcement authority, which we won't hesitate to use. We are tracking carefully using all the tools at our disposal, the assets of oligarchs and other sanctioned individuals. We're working very closely, exchanging information on this with our partners in the so-called repo task force. The Department of Justice announced a new task force called Klepto Capture, which is designed to use U.S. law enforcement resources to identify and prosecute sanctions evasion. And FinCEN issued an alert to financial institutions to help them recognize suspicious transactions in this regard.
That was Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, answering Representative Velazquez, who obviously has bought into Warren's narrative. But as you heard, they are watching but haven't seen any significant evasion of sanctions using crypto. All right, let's move on and take a look at that use case using XRP as a bridge asset. Yesterday, I did a short for you on how ODL, or on-demand liquidity, actually works with Tranglo. So they're moving money, as the image says, from a Singapore wallet, using then an exchange to liquidate XRP into fiat, followed by an invoice. Now, what I really wanted to show you was this quote up here from OmniPay. OmniPay is a very important processor for payments here in Asia, and they have grown exponentially with ODL, increasing their processing volume, scaling their business to reach more customers. Now, think how important regulation is, not only in the United States, but worldwide. There is Rahul Advani. He is Ripple's policy expert, and he currently is lobbying the regulators in South Korea to change their approach to crypto, because they can't use ODL in South Korea presently. So with all those rails that are just having absolute global coverage, if the regulations can get into place, it is going to be a powerful use case. What I have here is a clip from a guest that's going to be on the channel sometime this month. And I'm very excited because they are doing a lot of interesting things. Pay attention closely to about the 30-second mark. Okay, here we go.
Welcome to the world of innovative money movement. Zargo works closely with the official regulators of crypto assets in South Africa and champions fair regulation.
Zargo has been engaging with the regulators since its inception. We've always believed that regulation is key to where Zargo is going and where the industry should be going.
I think regulation is very critical to where we are. When you're regulated, that 100% of the market becomes available. So you've changed your audience quite considerably by just being regulated. And regulations in place for the banks historically. Why? Because there were problems. You just don't want to repeat those problems in the crypto space.
Grow with certainty. Zargo, innovative money movement.
These guys are pioneers. I'm very excited to have them on the channel. Very excited. Adjudication memorandas relate to the process by which the court judge resolves issues between two parties, and these are to be restricted. But the SEC has disclosed that the enforcement staff actually accessed at least 2 matters that are currently in litigation. So this database of case files, which is supposed to be maintained by the enforcement division, shows that they just don't have any good controls in place. And it is described by many covering this to be an outrageous breach of ethics. And they will proceed with an internal review. And, oh yeah, they issued in this bottom paragraph here that they have a deep regret. So we deeply regret that the Commission's systems lacked sufficient safeguards surrounding access to adjudication memoranda. And going forward, they're going to better protect the separation. And we take this lapse in controls very seriously and are working hard to make sure nothing like it happens again. What a sloppy ship Gensler is running. This is the bull that was revealed today at Bitcoin Miami. I love it. It's the robotic bull with laser eyes. I think it's a really beautiful piece of artwork. It was revealed by the mayor of Miami. But what I want to do now is just have you listen to 3 short clips of Kevin O'Leary. He spoke to Stansberry Research today, and yeah, he was actually a speaker as well at the Bitcoin Miami. And he just makes some very interesting points, and I think they're worth sharing. So have a listen.
The whole world has come to this place. I think something like 200 to 225,000 people are going to be here for the next 3 to 4 days. And we've got some major policy shifts occurring. The big thing that's happening here is Senator Lummis is coming to do a keynote. That's a federal senator. That's a big deal. And here's the basic premise, okay? If you look at the world the way I do through the institutional indexing, The majority of the world's wealth is in sovereign wealth and pension plans in America. So it's great to talk about retail investors in Bitcoin, but they're absolutely nothing burgers. In fact, Bitcoin's less than $1 trillion, which is nothing in the context of assets. Now, how's that going to change? The only way that changes is if we get policy. In other words, if we allow institutions to buy Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And in order to do that, we need the SEC and the regulators to rule. Look, if you're an investor, you have to read the room. You have to understand what policy is changing. You have to understand when the regulator is changing. What changed my mind was the first inkling of regulatory support in Canada, then Switzerland, then Germany, then United Arab Emirates, and then in England. Now, it hasn't happened here in the U.S. yet, but when I saw this happening, I thought, I've got to get ahead of this. And I started my first positions in Ethereum and Bitcoin, and then expanded my offerings into blockchains, level 1, level 2, and then started investing in the equity of companies like WonderFi, Immutable Holdings, and BitZero. These are companies that, are basically riding the wave in a regulated environment.
All right, everybody, let's jump to the fluff. Well, on Tuesday, I had lunch with Moonchaser. I'm not sure if you know who Moonchaser is, but she is in the crypto space. She's very busy. She helps with a lot of projects, and we often go and scout areas for a future XRP meetup. So we decided to have lunch at Hapoen. Hapoen is the former residence of a samurai that used to live there during the Edo period. He actually is someone who lived during the Sengoku Edo period transition and was related to the Tokugawa clan. So this is an incredible property, and it still has the original garden. And it's pretty spectacular. It's one of those really great places to go. And every time I visit, I want to see one thing in particular, and that's what I want to share with you on this fluff. But before I go to show you what that is, you need to know that the island south of here, which is Shikoku, has this mountainous area that's windswept, and there are juniper pines that you can find. And the people who are into bonsai often go to this area of the country to find some of the oldest pines that you can find. And these juniper pines are shimpaku. This kind of pine is one that works really well for bonsai. And not only does it work well, but it has some durability or endurance, or what's the resiliency, or what's the word I'm looking for. It just does an amazing job at living. And so people will go and find some that are 200, 300, 400, 500 years old. And this is what those mountain ranges look like right now. It's really, really beautiful, very rugged, very rugged. So what I always go to look at is this one right here. This is a bonsai that they have in their collection, and it's 525 years old. And it was, yes, taken from that mountainous area about, what was it, about 100 years ago. So it is really just doing great. I've been watching it for the last 20 years. And every time I go to see it, it just looks better and better. And it is, it's really popular for bonsai because of the way its wood turns into this shoddy, it's called, where it looks almost as if it's dead, but it's not at all. It's very much alive. But I'm just fascinated to think that it is of the age. This collection of bonsai at Hapoen is, in my opinion, the reason why you want to go. Now, there you could say that there's, the food is good. Yeah, it's pretty good. You can say the service is great. Yeah, it's great. The property itself and the garden and the pond with the koi is spectacular. But there is nothing like the collection of bonsai. I think they have maybe 25 or 30, and most of them are 100 years and older, and they are just spectacular. And you can it's amazing too, the access that you have. You of course, I didn't touch them, but you are able to touch them. That's how close you can get to these incredible, magnificent pieces of nature. All right, everybody. Yes, do take care. Sayonara for now. Bye-bye.